All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely wild, true legend of a man whose unyielding word literally turned him into an immortal folk deity. We're exploring this fascinating intersection of history, sociology, and profound devotion. It is a staggering story full of bloody feuds, impossible promises, and a commitment to the truth that literally defied death. So, who exactly is this warrior god worshipped across 5 Indian states to cure snake bites? It's a compelling question, right? To millions of people across India, he is known as Veer Tejaji Maharaj. But here's the thing, before he was a god, he was just a man, a farmer, a warrior, and a social reformer living out in the deserts of Rajasthan way back in the 11th century. Today, we're going to bridge that gap between history and mythology and see exactly how a mortal man's unshakable principles elevated him to divine status. To give you an idea of his massive modern relevance, look at this number, 400 crore rupees. That is over 4 billion rupees, currently being poured into building a grand temple in his birthplace of Karnal. We are not talking about some forgotten, dusty myth here. This is a living, breathing tradition that commands immense reverence today.
Part 1. Birth of a Legend, the Agricultural Scientist.
Our story starts in 1074 AD in the village of Karnal. His birth was actually seen as a huge miracle. His mom, Ram Kanwari, went through a grueling 12-year penance to the snake god just to conceive him. Legend has it, a divine light filled the room when he was born, which is why his dad named him Teja, meaning radiance. But tragedy struck pretty early. His father was martyred when Tejaji was just a kid, forcing him to grow up fast. But growing up, Tejaji didn't just sit back and rule his estate. He actually worked the earth himself. You can kind of think of him as an early agricultural scientist. He taught the locals completely new, disciplined farming techniques, like waking up super early to plow and making sure to properly till the soil before sowing seeds, instead of just throwing them onto hard dirt. And beyond farming, he fiercely opposed the rigid caste system of his time, teaching that humans, animals, and nature all belonged to one unified family.
Part 2. The Hidden Feud, a Secret Marriage.
To really grasp the drama of this feud, we need to look at 2 rival villages, Karnal and Paner. Believe it or not, when Tejaji was only 9 months old, he was married off to a 6-month-old girl named Pamel from Paner. But on the actual wedding day, all hell broke loose. Pamel's uncle was furious about the alliance. He attacked Tejaji's father, and in self-defense, Tejaji's dad killed him. Boom, a bitter blood feud begins. To protect young Tejaji from the fallout, his family completely hid the marriage from him, and the bride and groom grew up totally apart. Part 3. A Hero's Promise, the Taunt That Changed History. Okay, picture this. Tejaji has been working in the blazing hot sun all day long. When his sister-in-law finally shows up late with his lunch, he naturally asks what took so long. Exhausted herself, she snaps back with this incredible, sarcastic taunt, "If you are so hungry and want hot bread, bring your own wife." Wow, right? Those words pierced his pride like an arrow. In a split second, the massive secret his family had kept for over a decade was out. He was a married man, and his wife was sitting far away in Paner. Now, a true warrior's pride is no joke. Stung by the humiliation, Tejaji reacts fiercely. He literally drops his food right there in the dirt. He vows he won't eat another bite or drink another drop of water until it's served by his own wife. Ignoring his mother's desperate pleas, and completely brushing off a series of terrible omens, he saddles up his legendary windswift mare, Leland, arms himself, and rides out to reclaim his honor and his bride. Part 4. The Trials. Humiliation at Paner. So he arrives at Paner right at nightfall, and his horse's loud hooves end up totally spooking his mother-in-law, who happens to be out milking her cows. Not realizing this imposing rider in the dark is her own son-in-law, the furious woman screams this terrifying curse at him. Why didn't a black snake bite him on the way? Ouch! Hearing these deeply insulting words, the Honorable Tejaji is just crushed. Without even catching a glimpse of his wife, he turns his horse right around, absolutely refusing to stay in a house that curses him the second he arrives. Part 5. Battle for the Cows, the Thieves, and the Fire. But fate has other plans. As he's retreating, a local woman named Lacha Gujari stops him, begs him to stay the night at her place, and explains that his wife had absolutely nothing to do with the curse. Well, that very night, in the pitch black, notorious Meena bandits swoop in and steal Lacha's entire herd of cattle.
Duty-bound to protect the helpless, Tejaji rides out into the forest alone to hunt them down. But on the way, he stumbles onto a bizarre scene. A massive snake, Nagraj Basak, is deliberately burning itself in a fire to achieve moksha, or ultimate salvation, alongside its dead mate. Trying to be compassionate, Tejaji uses his spear to pull the snake out of the flames. But instead of saying thank you, the snake is furious that Tejaji ruined its salvation and threatens to bite him right then and there.
And this is where Tejaji's character really shines. He doesn't fight the snake, he doesn't run, he simply accepts responsibility. He tells the snake, look, I must save the cows first, but I will return for my punishment. It's a staggering, almost impossible promise. He swears on his honor to come right back to this exact spot to receive the fatal bite once his duty is done. The snake is so amazed by his truthfulness that it actually lets him pass.
Part 6. The Supreme Sacrifice. Blood, Victory, and Venom. Tejaji eventually tracks down the ruthless bandit leaders Kalya and Balia. And what happens next is just epic. Operating like a literal one-man army, his sword flashing like lightning, he fights his way through hundreds of outlaws to free the cattle and return them to Lacha Gujari. But then, he notices one single, lame calf got left behind. His dedication to duty is so absolute that he rides right back into the bloody battlefield, fights the remaining bandits, and rescues that calf, taking devastating, life-threatening wounds in the process.
Barely alive, practically covered in deep sword and spear gashes, he drags himself back to the snake to keep his word. The snake is totally stunned. It tells him, I can't bite you. There isn't a single inch of uninjured skin left on your body, and a snake cannot strike an impure wound. And guys, this is the emotional climax of the whole explainer. Tejaji leans on his spear, opens his mouth, and says, my tongue is unharmed. Bite here, for it is with this tongue that I gave you my word. And with that, the snake strikes. The snake is so deeply moved by this unfathomable commitment to the truth that it grants Tejaji a powerful blessing before he dies. Later, upon hearing of his death, his devoted wife Pimal joins him on the funeral pyre, committing sati, the ultimate sacrifice. This exact moment right here is his apotheosis. He was no longer just a mortal warrior, his unyielding truth literally elevated him into an immortal god. Part 7. The Legacy of a Warrior God. Fast forward to today, and Veer Tejaji is worshipped fervently across Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, and Punjab. Because of his early social reforms, he is still championed as a fierce opponent of the caste system. And, true to that snake's final blessing, he is revered as the ultimate protector against snake bites. Even now, rural communities will tie a Tejaji thread around a snakebite victim's wrist, firmly believing his divine power neutralizes the venom. Every single year, millions of people gather for Teja Dashami to honor him. Which brings us to one final, really provocative thought. We live in a modern world full of shifting truths, where words can feel pretty cheap and promises get broken every day. So what can we learn from a man who literally gave his life for a single promise? Tejaji's story is so much more than an ancient battle or a myth. It's a mirror held up to our own integrity. Think about it. What would our lives look like if we treated our own words with even a fraction of that absolute, unyielding reverence? It's a fascinating legend to chew on. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.